The Lacera is a new blade and whip weapon, and it doesn't look that bad, but it's only electrical damage. Literally, just electrical damage. You can either buy it for 175 platinum, which isn't that much when it comes to weapons. The other one does still look nicer, or you can build it using the research in the, I think it's in the Tenno lab inside of Clan Research. I cannot remember, I just know it's in one of the labs. And it does look pretty nice, but again, it's electrical only. Comparing the Lacera against the Myos, or however you want to pronounce it, it does exactly the same damage numbers, apart from the new one. This thing only does electrical, whereas this one does physical, because it does 80 damage. The new one has 45% status over the other one's 25%, and fires slower. And it has next to no crit that makes it, yeah, it's not as good as I was expecting it to be. But with that 40% status, you could build a 100% status damage weapon, which would be really nice. It uses the defiled Snapdragon stance, because it's the only one that exists for these things. Hopefully the next one they bring out will be a rare or common, because an uncommon or a common, because it started with a rare. And it also comes with a dash polarity, not a V, which is pretty weird. I've noticed a lot of melee weapons have got Vs or Ds. A dash, just kind of weird. But with this being an elemental weapon, you can literally just drop Shocking Touch straight in there. And you have almost doubled the damage, because this thing... Oh no, it does do 90% damage again. They did change them so they only did 6... No, that's not maxed. So they only did 60, but obviously that didn't stick very long, so they're back up to 90. Nice. So it's nearly doubled the damage on it, and it's unranked. This thing has some major drawbacks to it. The fire rate is pretty goddamn slow, which means you're going to spend most of your time dying. Yeah, I stopped pressing melee quite a while ago there, thank you. The whip part of it doesn't seem to work on most enemies. I cannot take the camera out with it. It's just having none of it. Which means you've got to jump attack a camera, which can be a bit of an inconvenience at times. Hello! Haha! But if you swap that base electrical damage over to corrosive, this thing can become quite a beast. Because it's literally, it's like 100%. Of course, as I say that, I get one guy who refuses to die. You can get 100% status on these, and it makes them just, well, really useful. It still does the same as... you need to go. Because you can... Oh, he wants to play whips. Come on! Whip it! And he's dead. One day they'll drop something, but... Ugh. So the whip does work, but it's not as effective as it once was. Why is that flashing in the middle of the screen? I'm nowhere near a door. It's just... The other weapon seems to be better than this. And considering this has come out at the same time the war came out... It doesn't really seem fair for this weapon, but its fire rate is just... If it had a high fire rate, this would be a hell of a weapon. Considering the build I've actually put on this is basically just... I swapped the electrical over to corrosive, dropped the frostbite into it, just for the sake of getting it from 99% to 100% status. And it works. Once you hit them, you can slow them down a little bit, and it does a lot of damage. It's actually a pretty decent melee weapon that, as I say, it's just going to be overlooked by the fact that the war came out at the same time, and the war is currently anyway, the most powerful melee weapon in the game. And it doesn't seem fair for this weapon. If it was given a higher fire rate, it would have been a pretty usable weapon, but the fact that it doesn't have that high fire rate kind of ruins it. Okay, it doesn't do an insane amount of damage anyway, but compared to the other whip and sword, it's just, it's a damn shame for this weapon. It is literally, it's going to be massively overlooked because the war exists, because it came out at exactly the same time as this. A lot of people are just going to look at it and go, well, I'll just get the war instead. You probably noticed I'm running around with the war a hell of a lot recently as well. That's just because that's the weapon I put my lens on because I was using it the most. And because I put the lens on it, I'm going to be stuck with the damn thing for quite a while. Until I get some other lenses and put a different lens onto a different weapon. So the lenses have also kind of ruined this because now you've got to
expose its core and destroy it.
Kind of decide what weapon you want and stick with it. And if you've decided that the melee weapon of your choice is the war, that's pretty much what you're going to stick with, which is a shame for everything else. So again, the fact this came out at the same time as the war, it's just, it didn't have a very bright future, considering it was always going to be overlooked by the war and the Broken War if you were able to do the second Dream quest as soon as Update 18 came out. And it's a damn shame for this because it's actually a pretty decent weapon. I like my whips. And I was actually kind of looking forward when the sword and whip things came out. And this thing, it's not disappointing, it's just the fire rate is so slow.